Welcome, my friends. It is Smokin and Toastin. This is the radio program that is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Ian and I are a little damp and a little windblown, but we're both in one piece, and that's the good news. I think, Ian, on last week's show, I think we were mocking the weathermen for saying that this was going to be like a major weather event, weren't we?
Wah, wah,
yeah,
wah.
I guess we get to eat our words a little bit there. So
we were like, we've been through storms before.
Whatever.
Wow.
Bring it. Yeah. So this was really something. Now, for those of you who are not as familiar with the show, Ian and I are based in Houston. And Houston did not get the brunt of the winds and the hurricane, usual sort of blowing, a pencil through a telephone pole kind of craziness.
Well, like, for instance, when Ike came through, what was that, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Now? When Ike came through 10 years ago, there was so much wind damage and, things were blowing around, trees were down, all kinds of stuff was happening. None of that happened this time. We just got rain.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, in Texas, a lot of times the rain goes sideways. It didn't even go sideways most of the time. It just came straight down.
Yes.
But it was a ton of it.
Well, I will tell you that I'm, as you mentioned last week, I'm up on the 32nd floor in my building, and I actually saw some rain, I'm not kidding you, going up. Now, I'm sure that was effect of the wind, but you would watch it, the rain would be falling down, then occasionally you see it go sideways, and at one point, it actually looked like snow, because you know how snow will drift.
Oh, it flurries around, right.
It flurries and stuff. It actually looked a bit like that.
Oh, that's funny.
That's some pretty serious rain if it's blowing.
So I guess at 32 stories up, you don't have anything blocking the wind, so you caught some of the wind.
Yeah, we caught a little bit of the wind. Fortunately, I've got a big balcony with a railing and stuff, and so there's a little bit of protection from the side of the building. But no, there was definitely some wind.
Right, so I'm at ground level. There was not much wind. I mean, it just didn't kick up very much at all. There were a couple times here and there, but...
at ground level, that's where you have to worry the most about rising water and literally thousands of people.
32 stories up, you probably didn't worry about flooding too much.
No, but thousands of people were displaced.
Yes,
from their
and
homes,
it was real sad. My neighborhood, fortunately, was high enough. There was not a lot of water damage in houses in my neighborhood. Most of the houses in my neighborhood are up on blocks. And so my water got all the way up in my driveway, got all the way up to the steps at my front porch. But since my house is on blocks, it would have had to been 1.5 feet higher to actually endanger the house. Now, that being said, I pulled the cars into the back of the driveway because it's a little higher back there.
Smart.
It was up to the back bumper of my wife's car.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty high.
Bumper. That's wow. Well, I know you texted me a photo the first night of the serious rain of crazy rain dripping off, I guess, part of the roof of your carport. Is that what that was?
If you expanded that photo, you'd see my truck in the background, which is black on a dark night, and you'd see that it was literally right up to the running boards on my truck.
Right up to the running boards and water. And then I texted you back like, dude, are you okay? And I think the next text you said, yep, smoking a cigar on my back porch, watching the rain. So
actually, I was on my front porch.
Oh, you were on the front porch.
So I have a carport in the back, like in my patio area, but it's pretty tall.
Yeah.
So wind will blow, like the rain right in there if it's raining hard, or you get a lot of splashback. So I ended up on my front porch, which has a much lower ceiling to it, so to speak. And there's just enough room on my front porch for 2 camp-style chairs. And me and my wife sat out there and watched the river that used to be my street go by. Now, again, fortunately, there wasn't a lot in the houses, and fortunately, my neighborhood's up high enough to where there wasn't a lot of car damage. I mean, I'm sure there was some on some other streets, but just overall where we were just watching it going, wow, and sat out there and smoked cigars. And to be honest with you, what else are you going to do at that point in time? There's nothing you can do.
Right. You're just kind of stuck in the...
So cigars and beer it was. I had a good old time.
We should have done a show at your house. But then, of course, I'd have probably been stuck at your house. And
you would have been stuck in my house.
That wouldn't have been great for you and your wife for having me stuck there for
I got a
week,
guest room. It's okay.
Well, we do want to mention, by the way, that... we don't want to turn this into the weather show, but we do want to mention that anyone who's dealing with the after effects of Hurricane Harvey, that our thoughts and best wishes and prayers go out to you, and we hope that you can enjoy hearing the show, and maybe it'll lift your spirits and make you think about some of the finer things that you'll be getting back to.
There are a lot of organizations out there right now doing donations and stuff for people who are in shelters for people who lost a ton of stuff. So if you feel it, go look up some of those and just donate. Donate what's needed, though. Don't just randomly send stuff because, like some of these companies, they don't know what to do with random stuff. But some people need these things or those things, and they can use that. So.
I know at the shelters they need socks and dog food. That much I know. Socks and dog food. So our show is about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we are live today at a place that I am actually intimately familiar with. We are at Casa de Montecristo, right at 610 and Richmond, between Richmond and Westheimer on 610 in Houston. And Casa de Montecristo has been known for years as Serious Cigars. And I used to live in about 2 blocks from here. And I don't even want to try to guess how much money I've spent at this store.
Have you seen the size of the humidor?
Oh, my God, it's enormous. Now, I started as a customer of this store when they were actually back around the corner in another location on Richmond Ave, and they had a big humidor there. And then they moved into this one. I remember when they first moved in, it was like they actually, as crazy huge as their selection was, there were empty spots on the shelves because they didn't have quite enough boxes of cigars to fill. By the way, that's long been remedied.
Oh yeah,
and it is full to overflowing now. But they are, they have great prices and they have a great staff, and we'll be talking with Ken a little bit later. Plus, we also have. I'm really excited about this actually because AJ from Ventura Cigars is also going to be our special guest on the show today, and Ventura is one of I call them the new wave of cigar companies. They're very different and much more like aggressive and stylish in their in the way they market their cigars. They don't just do the old school marketing way, which totally has its place, by the way. I love the old school as well. But these are the guys behind like Psycho cigars and like some of the cigar blends where you look on the shelf and you go, well, that's different. Maybe I should check that out. So we'll get to some of that.
I think some of their blending is a little more aggressive or crafty or however you want to look at it.
I think that's right, and I'm looking forward to asking him some of those questions. Plus, we're going to be tasting, I think, some pretty exciting things. We brought along some St. Arnold Oktoberfest, which, if I'm not mistaken, this may be the first beer that we have tasted more than once on the show, because I believe we did it last fall.
It wouldn't surprise me because when St. Arnold Oktoberfest comes out, I drink a lot of it.
Well, I thought we'd better go ahead and kind of do the official review.
Just
address it and get it out of the way, because I know you and I have both had it in our refrigerators at home ever since it first came out, because this is a beer that both of us love. So we'll talk about that. Plus, Clown Shoes Brewing, one of my favorite indie breweries out of Massachusetts, I've brought us some of their baked goods hoppy pale ale.
Clown Shoes, the first year I saw them was at the Brewmeisters Festival in Galveston, Texas.
Yes.
And me and my wife walked into that place, and we were wandering around looking at the different booths, and we saw this place called Clown Shoes, which, of course, we had to walk up to. This is called Clown Shoes. They had nobody there.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody there. We walked up, and I was like, I'll just try I think they had the muffin top. I was like, I'll try one of those.
Beer too.
And I got about 3 steps away from the booth. I went, I'm going to try something else of theirs and something else of theirs. I tried all their beers there.
Because that's how good the beer was.
A half hour later, you couldn't even get close to their booth.
Yes.
It was nuts. Word got out, and you couldn't even get, because they had a line that was past other booths.
Now, these guys are in the greater Boston area, Clown Shoes. When I lived in Boston, they had not opened yet. And so the big kind of favorite local brewery in Boston at that time, other than Boston Beer Company, the Sam Adams guys, of course, was Harpoon. And Harpoon's another great indie brewery. But the Clown Shoes guys kind of came in and sort of turned the market on its ear a little bit, because they also, we were talking about this with Ventura Cigar, Clown Shoes a bit aggressive in their marketing too. Yes. Just kind of the way they go about things.
Most interesting names, most interesting labels.
No question. Well, just to call it Clown Shoes beer. I mean, that alone is interesting. So, and we also have a couple of Stone things, which we'll get to and we'll talk about coming up a little later on the show. Going to be sharing some interesting stuff with you, in addition to smoking some Ventura Cigar Company cigars. And I'm really excited about all of this. We've got a really nice show planned out for you today, and I'm just checking our timer. Okay, we're good. So we did survive Hurricane Harvey. We did smoke during the hurricane. Both of us did.
Yes.
I didn't have the experience that I was hoping for, the inside-out umbrella experience smoking a cigar, but I did stand in the door of my place and basically smoke while being pelted by rain. So that's our official report on the hurricane.
That's dedication, by the way.
That is. That's exactly right. There's a new world record being set for the world's longest cigar. So we'll be telling you about that coming up. Plus, the big fight was this last week, the Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather fight, and both of these guys are releasing commemorative spirits. So we'll tell you about that coming up. Piggly Wiggly stores. Also,
Wiggly stores.
Yeah, releasing their own Oktoberfest beer. Piggly Wiggly is a grocery store chain that's, I think, mostly in the Southeast, but I bring them up just because I like saying Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly.
It's just a fun thing to say. Yeah, but they're releasing their own Oktoberfest beer, so we'll tell you that story. Let me tell you real quick, before we get into our second segment, about the world's longest cigar. It takes a lot of space sometimes to break a world record, especially when you're trying to break the record of the world's longest cigar.
I just want to point out, any cigar company that says size doesn't matter, has small cigars.
That's a good way to go into this, and you're absolutely right. The current largest cigar on record was set in 2011 by Jose Castelar Cairo, known as Cueto, of Cuba La Triada cigar shop in Havana, according to the Guinness Book of World Records and the website. The longest cigar measured 81.80 meters, or 268 feet and 4 inches. Yeah, 268 feet 4 inches. Well, Raul Rayner of Pomona, California, and the Mi Havana Cigar House there, earlier this month rolled a 332-footer, which he believes will break. It's not been confirmed, at least as of the time of the article I've read here. Hasn't been confirmed yet by Guinness, but looks like he will break. The original plans were for it to be 304 feet long, which would have been the length of 38 8-foot folding tables set up end to end, just to give you an idea. But several days in, the cigar had grown to 332 feet, and he said, well, we figured we had more time and plenty of tobacco, and we might as well use it all up. So that's what they did, and that was the plan. So we got a lot going on. I'm excited about bringing our special guests on, and we have what may be the most special tequila we've ever had on the show that we'll also be tasting, and I'll tell you about that coming up. It's Smokin' and Toastin', and thank you for listening. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. By the way, we are brought to you by our fine friends at B&B Butchers and Restaurant on Washington Ave in Houston, and soon to be open in Fort Worth, where they're substantially drier than the Houston location. No, I think B&B was fine, but boy, do these guys have an amazing place to stop and enjoy a cigar. They've got an awesomely well-stocked and well-attended bar. And I just spoke with our buddy Jeremiah from there, and he is excited about heading to New York next week to choose their cask of this new whiskey, that they're going to be the only place in the country that has this cask of this exciting new whiskey from the Hudson Bay Distillery.
That's going to be nice.
Yeah, so he's really excited, and I can't wait to taste it. It's going to be awesome. So today we are live at one of my favorite places in the entire city of Houston. It's Casa de Montecristo, although I've been coming here for years as it's been called Serious Cigars. It just recently changed names because it was acquired by, was it Tabacalera, is that right? That acquired it, and so they're changing it. All of the shops that they're acquiring around the country, they're changing to their branding of Casa de Montecristo. So that's what the new sign says, but it's still the same. Still the same awesome place, and we want to say hello and welcome to Ken Wen. Ken,
hey, how's it going?
It's nice. First of all, thank you for having us here.
Thank you for coming.
What a great place, and as I said at the top of the show, at least some of your expansion here was due to the many dollars I've spent in this store over the past several years.
Oh, yeah. You probably paid for this room we're sitting in right now and the TV on the wall.
I think it's entirely possible. At least that lamp over there. At least the lamp.
The very minimum. Yeah, maybe the floor rug.
But, my gosh, you guys have got an enormous humidor. And I do remember coming here when you first opened this location, and you had the enormous humidor, but even with as many cigars as you had, it didn't quite fill the room. Now you're nice and full.
Oh yeah, we're full now. I mean, we have one of the I'd say top 10 largest humidors. Definitely one of the biggest in Texas.
Yes.
I just want to point out, when you say it's a huge humidor, you are not joking. It's actually bigger than some apartments I've had.
Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. If you are listening to us and you are in an apartment in New York, this humidor is bigger than your apartment.
Yes.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say that. How many Serious Cigar locations were there, and are all of them Casa de Montecristo now?
Yeah, we had 4 locations. Okay. The most recent one was in Webster, going towards Galveston, and all 4 were acquired by Casa de Montecristo. Okay. So it's along with them, and we have also another one in Austin and Dallas. And Houston, it was the 4.
And how long have you been here with Serious Cigars / Casa de Montecristo?
Maybe about a month.
Maybe about a month. Okay.
Yeah, but I've been shopping here just as long as you have.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been smoking here.
Hold on a second. So I came in here, had a cigar.
You came when I was on training week.
You were on training week when I first talked to you. I had no idea. I just came in and we started a conversation. I was like, hey, we do this. We'd love to do a show here. And you were excited about it, and I was excited about it. I had no idea you were on training.
Yeah, I've only been here like a little over a month.
So can the guys that have been here for a while, has a lot changed for them since it's become Casa de Montecristo?
No,
has there been a lot of behind the scenes stuff, or is it really just kind of business as usual?
I mean, it's a little more. It's a corporate company, so we got more structure. But the employees itself, it worked out really well for them. They do a lot of spiffs, contests in house. So where these guys get sent out to the Dominican Republic to go see their farm, their factory this month. Right. They sent one person from every store, not just. Yeah, it wasn't like a whole company competition. So they sent everybody. And the previous month they sent somebody to the Connecticut farm. So they always have a lot of good in-house things going on because it is a corporate company. So
what did you do exactly to get the job here, and how does that?
Oh, actually, I was smoking here for a while. I used to own.
So is this like in like what was the movie where the guys High Fidelity, where the two guys just hung out at the record shop so
and
long
they just ended up getting a job.
They started working there.
It was something like that. Pretty much, I came here a lot, pretty often. Before I used to own. I used to have a contract with Kroger. And I owned a chain of sushi bars that operate within them, all around Houston, Dallas, Louisiana. And so I sold it. I thought it was the greatest thing in the world to, retire early. And then I got stuck at home with, my other half, and she was 24/7 for a year. So I was always hanging out at the shop. I started making it a point. And then after a while, I was like, I had enough. And the previous manager, he was on his way out to retire. So I told him, I was like, hey, I just need like a part-time cashier position. Just give me something to do. It's all right. And they ended up just shooing me in, and somehow I ended up here as
awesome.
GM.
You needed to be able to say, I have to go to work.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
to get out of the house. Other than, why are you going
to
over there to smoke all the time? Why don't you stay home?
Exactly.
Now I have the perfect excuse.
So you've lined up a special guest for us while we're here this week, and we want to say hello to him as well. Why don't you introduce AJ?
It's good friend of mine, AJ Costa from Ventura Cigars. He's in house,
and AJ is here, and he's brought smokables with him.
He's been generous with the swag.
Have you already lit up, Ian?
I have.
What are you smoking?
I am having an archetype Strange Passage.
Okay. Strange Passage. So first of all, AJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Really nice to have you. What can you tell us about this about the archetype Strange Passage that Ian's got lit here?
Basically, I'm like Aaron Neville. I don't know much, but I have cigars for you. So, just kidding. Just kidding.
And, by the way, if I may quote Linda Ronstadt, that
Please.
may be all I need to know.
And that's exactly that's the wavelength I wanted to be on. Now that we're on the same page.
Good.
So the Strange Passage is something for us that's made out of the Davidoff factory. It has a Ecuadorian Habano wrapper, something a little different on the binder for Honduran and Corojo, since it is Honduran itself. Coming out of the Occidental factory, and then what we like to call a multi-country blend. You'll see that through a lot of our stuff on the filler. Don't really feel like giving out a lot of information on the full access of the blend, but
sure,
the multi-country blend is something you'll see a lot from us.
This is rated as a full-flavored cigar, and I got to tell you, it's a very gentle full-flavored cigar. Maybe gentle's not the right word. It's a very smooth and creamy full-flavored cigar.
Yeah, I mean, if it's full on the flavor side. I would probably call it a full minus or a medium plus to be really honest. But on the nicotine side, none of our cigars are going to be full from the heavy side as far as an impact for your smoking experience. They're all pretty balanced, pretty well balanced, and then also at the same time smokable for all levels. We're aging them, just like everyone else will, with enough time. The Davidoff and the Drew Estate factories, and La Aurora and Placencia, the factories our stuff comes out of, definitely we get the same kind of treatment everybody else does.
This is pretty nice. My pre-light sniff on this and pre-light draw were almost identical. There's a little bit of campfire and a little bit of earth kind of, and a little bit of leather kind of flavors right off the bat. It lit up pretty much the same way. No harshness at all on the light. And I'm about almost an inch into it right now, and it's just big, creamy, smooth. The flavors are developing. It's a pretty nice cigar so far.
Thanks. And for the guys who are from a color standpoint, it's also the green label, the Strange Passage. A lot of time I get what's the red label? The blue, the green, the gold,
that's right.
The silver.
Sometimes that's the easiest way.
It is
to remember.
It's a lot.
We'll refer to those as
exactly.
Kool-Aid flavor.
There we go.
Flavors,
all right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
green apple.
You've got the green flavor.
Yes.
I got green.
I've got the Axis Mundi, which, first of all, talk about a beautiful cigar. Look at that. That's just gorgeous. Oily, dark, beautiful leaves. Really, really nice. Tell me about this one. This is from Drew Estate, isn't it?
That is from Drew Estate. The Axis Mundi has an interesting Indonesia Sumatra binder to me. Obviously, you get more from the wrapper, which is a Maduro Habano out of Ecuador. But that Indonesian Sumatra really does something a little bit different from the flavor profile standpoint. And recently, from another media outlet, we got a 93 and a 91 rating in Cigar Aficionado. So
I'm not surprised, because at just a tiny tenth of an inch in, this is already just an absolute complex flavor bomb.
For sure. For me, I'm a smaller ring gauge smoker, so for the Strange Passage that Ian's smoking, that short Robusto is just my utter jam. And then the Corona on the Axis Mundi is just phenomenal. But they smoke really well. They're balanced from a blend standpoint, so you're going to get the same experience whether you're a Gordo or a Corona, Toro, Robusto guy, Churchill, what have you.
Well, these are great cigars for us to start the show with. I absolutely love it. Tell me what. So with your Ventura cigars, but you're sourcing your cigars from different cigar makers, different factories. So how does that work, and how do you sort of maintain your or like the Archetype brand, for example, even within that brand, it's sourced from different cigar makers. So how do you maintain your identity along with these different cigars? Because obviously Drew Estate's very well known, better known at this point probably than Archetype.
Of course, yeah, naturally. You can also find, the good thing is from our partnerships, from a parent company standpoint, is Phillips and King, and so they are our parent company, which we are a massive international distributor of nicotine and tobacco products, and also all your tobacco needs can be fulfilled by Phillips and King. So Ventura is under Phillips and King from the Ventura side of California. The flagship brand was Psycho. And if you notice on the Psycho packaging, you'll see 7 different names. Those are 7 different people who are involved in the blending and the making and the selling of that cigar. Kind of the idea that they were crazy enough, mentally crazy enough to start a cigar line. And that's made by Davidoff for us as well, coming out of the Occidental factory. And that's the thing that really got us on the map. And so we were able to have these partnerships with cigars through our connections from our long-standing history through Phillips and King as well, from Sergio Montalvo, our general manager, and then also Hugo Casar, who's our owner. And so we're able to have those connections. And you can also find that Axis Mundi on the Drew Estate Diplomat app.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
Just a little tidbit there.
So very cool. All right, when we come back, I want to ask you some questions about the Psycho line.
You got it.
I want to ask Ken some more questions about Serious Cigars. We haven't even talked about this amazing lounge that we're sitting in, the members lounge, and how enormous it is. So we want to get to that, and we've yet to taste our first beer, so it's Oktoberfest time when we come back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. You are listening to the program that is all about craft beer, distinctive fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We'll be right back. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. This program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And speaking of craft beer, Ian, I can't wait another moment. Let's talk St. Arnold Oktoberfest.
Oh, we don't have to wait. I've been drinking this for weeks now.
Yes. Okay, I realize this, but let's talk about it. We're tasting a little bit of it right now. It officially hit stores about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, it's been out just a little bit, and I tell you, I snap this up every time it comes out because this is one of my favorite seasonals, and St. Arnold's seasonals are so good anyway.
Yes. Well, we're going to have to do an Oktoberfest show, I think.
We may have to.
And just do an all Oktoberfest tasting. But this one definitely deserves to be tasted on its own. Because
and just due to my personal vigilance, I've done many Oktoberfest beer tastings. This is one of my absolute favorites in the genre. Mm-hmm. And I haven't limited it to like only locals or nationals or any of that stuff. This particular beer is just such a good Oktoberfest. It's such a good example of the style.
Well, and one of the things that I've always loved about you is your dedication to the research, and I think that's particularly important.
Research is difficult, and you have to dedicate yourself time and effort to it. And if you don't, you get nothing out of it,
I knew the first time I tasted this, though, that this would be a beer that you would really like because you love malt, whereas I maybe default to hops, you default to the malty flavor. And this is such a rich, malty taste that immediately, I will tell you, even though it's still pretty warm outside, when I taste these flavors, I immediately think of fall. It really does have that impact and that vibe.
Well, not only that, but it's the color of the leaves on the trees in fall. I mean,
yes.
It's that beautiful reddish, little amber to it. It's a light drinking beer. It's not a big heavy beer. It looks a little darker than what you'd expect a light drinking beer to be, but it's very malt forward.
It's malt forward, but it also has malt on the finish too.
Well, let me clear this up. All beer has malt and hops,
right?
It all has it to some degree. It just depends on how you balance it. So in this case, the flavor is more malt forward, and the hops is just there to add aroma and a little bitterness on the end to finish nice and crisp, those kind of things. But again, even though it looks like a heavier beer, it's the label even suggests it's a little bit more heavy in the seasonal. We think of fall and Christmas flavors as being much more spicy and bold and things like that. Well, this has a little bit of that, but it's really hop sweetness too on the front end. I really enjoy this.
It's really an enjoyable beer, and like you said, very drinkable, very sessionable. This is not one where you have to just have one and go, okay, that tasted amazing. Now what am I going to drink for the rest of the evening? I mean, this can be your go-to for a while.
A 12-pack of this actually got me through the hurricane days,
and there's something to be said for that. Speaking of hurricane, by the way, Anheuser-Busch stopped brewing beer for, I think, a day or two in order to can water to send to Hurricane Harvey stricken areas.
Kudos to them.
Which is a huge and awesome thing to do.
And when you say a day or two, you have to understand the scope of what Anheuser-Busch does in a day.
Yeah, in a day. Absolutely.
Millions and thousands or whatever it is. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but it's so huge that them stopping brewing for a day is a crazy amount.
Yes.
Of water that they're canning for donation. That's amazing.
Yeah, I want to get love to get a can of it. Not that I want to take it away from someone who desperately needs it, but I would love to have a can of it as a souvenir.
Right.
It'd be a cool little piece of memorabilia.
Yeah. I would agree, and I didn't know that canned water lasts a lot longer from a storage sustainability standpoint than bottled water or even bagged water. That canned water is the best thing you can actually find.
That's totally interesting.
And I've never even seen it, so that's interesting. It's a pretty cool thing they're doing.
We're live at I started to just call it Serious Cigars. I've got to get used to Casa de Montecristo. It is a cooler name, I will say. Casa de Montecristo. It's like, I got to stop there and check that place out. But Serious Cigars was just that. It was a serious cigar store. Casa de Montecristo, I think it almost more as a lounge with one of the hugest humidors ever than almost than a cigar store. Ken, this lounge is enormous. How many chairs are in this? We're in the members lounge here is where we're doing the show.
Yeah, this is not the only
members
lounge.
Yeah.
Our public lounge is a little smaller than this. I'm not really sure. I think it's maybe about 36 chairs in here to 40, depending. We have some chairs in here too. We have a conference room, and the members here have their own private locker and humidification.
Newly installed Domino's table that Kenny won't talk about.
Because
he doesn't want to get beat on it on the weekends.
Yeah, I just put in a Domino's card table in here.
Lots and lots of TVs.
Yeah, lots of big TVs. I mean, it's nice to have a 24-hour access here when they're members, so they can come here and smoke whenever they want.
And I've noticed we've been puffing away for a little while here, and the smoke just seems to kind of float up in the air and disappear.
Oh yeah, we have a really strong ventilation. It's like an exhaust fan type system, which is a lot cheaper to put on, but it's also a lot more efficient compared to a lot of the humidification systems that a lot of people have. It looks like a giant AC unit on top of their building. It's kind of an eyesore, but.
Well, we're not on top of the building, so it's not bothering me at all.
I want to point out, too, I've been coming to, before it was Casa de Montecristo, I've been coming to Serious Cigars for a while, too, because there's only really 2 places in town that sell a decent amount of pipes and pipe tobacco. Mm-hmm. And this is one of them.
Yeah, you've got
that's carried over. You've got nice blends out front and carry some tins and some bulk that are very nice. And I have to laugh because... one of Cruze's friends had a blend with him at one point in time. He goes, I don't remember where I got this. And I took it and smelled it. I said, oh, that's the Ladies Love It.
That's our number one seller.
I smell it right off the bat. I was like, that's the Ladies Love It from Serious Cigars. This was about a year ago, so that's what it was. And he was like, yeah, I think you're right. And that's a nice blend, a nice aromatic blend.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can smell
definitely.
it a mile away. It smells great.
Yeah, it smells really good.
The room note on it's beautiful.
So how difficult is it for you guys, and I realize you've only been here a little while, but how difficult is it to decide, even though you've got this enormous humidor, to decide what to stock? Because there's obviously, you got to stock what's going to sell and what's going to be worthy of the shelf space. And has any of that changed since you became Casa de Montecristo, or is the process of how you guys choose your stock the same?
Yeah, I mean, it still is kind of the same. I would say when Casa de Montecristo acquired us, that they kept track of what sold, what didn't, and some of the stuff that didn't sell or moved within the last, I'd say, a month. We didn't move a stick or not. We put it on a closeout as a non-go forth item.
I love closeouts.
Yeah, so
especially under those circumstances, because there's really good sticks that aren't that popular.
Yeah, and they've been sitting on the shelf, so they've been aging all that time. So, but we always get new products coming in. Great guys like AJ come in and say, "Hey, this is a new item."
And you got to make room for that stuff,
and we got plenty of room.
That's exactly right. You have to make room for the things I bring in, Kenny. Thank you.
So he'll bring in items, and we try them out. They're great smokes. We contact upper management and have them ship it to us. So we're always constantly getting new items in.
AJ, the Psycho line, which is PSYKO, Psycho, some of the most aggressive cigar marketing I think I've ever seen, just in terms of the typeface on the band. It looks loud, it looks aggressive, it looks young. And then I find out, these are made by Davidoff. Like, I can't think of a more, conservative, gentle cigar company, really, than Davidoff. You think of all the cigars looking, exactly the same in terms of branding and all of that. So wow, where did Davidoff just decide they wanted to grow a wild hair and do something crazy?
No, I think the folks over at Phillips & King grew that wild hair, and so they saw also, the need in the market for the boutique side of things, but with the backing that a very large company can give you, right? So you kind of have, boutiques are great. They are the, bread and butter at times, and everyone has started out as a boutique, even, some of the Tatuaje and LFD, kind of guys that have grown out to be, just monsters in the industry. They started somewhere too.
Drew Estate started
as a 100,
almost just like 100%. A little cigar card.
Yeah, exactly, right? So similar idea there with us. It's why we have the great relationships from the wholesaling side, the distribution side that we have for the over 100 years, and so that really is what started the whole idea. And they're made for us out of the Dominican, out of Davidoff's factory. So you are 100% correct. A little dichotomous from Psycho, from Davidoff, but yes.
And Psycho is also more aggressive in terms of flavor too, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
You got San Andreas wrapper for the Maduro, and then you have on the natural, you have a regular Dominican with the Mexican Sumatra as the binder, and then the Connecticut is also Ecuadorian Connecticut with the San Vicente on the binder. So a little bit across the board there, different type of blending and smokes too. So, yep.
Yeah, I've had a couple of the different Psycho blends and really enjoyed them. I thought they were very. The word that comes to mind is powerful. Like these are some good full cigars. So,
yep, and they're our flagship brand. So people tend to have remember them in a great way, or go, oh, I didn't really hit my palate well. But for us, it's a cornerstone, keystone item for us, being our flagship brand that we started our whole cigar aside with Ventura Cigars.
All right, so want to find out more about that, and also we're running a little behind on our tasting here, so we've got a couple of beers to taste. But in our next segment, we're going to taste the most beautifully named bottle of tequila I've ever discovered.
I need my little sound machine for a drum roll right there.
That'll be coming up in our next segment. You're listening to Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome back to Smokin' and Toastin'. This is episode number 55, by the way. We're so glad to have you guys listening, and so glad to be a part of the hurricane party at Casa de Montecristo. We are brought to you, by the way, by the fine folks at B&B Butchers and Restaurant on Washington Ave in Houston, soon to be open in Fort Worth. And these guys, we can't let a whole episode go by without mentioning the bacon.
Bacon.
Yes,
Try the bacon.
Trust us, get the bacon.
You can actually go into the little shop. They have a little butcher shop in front, and you can buy the
the bacon,
the steaks, the meats, and all that stuff. But you can actually buy the bacon and take it home in a kit and cook it at your house and have that same
Have you
appetizer.
tried it yet?
Not yet. But
okay.
Man.
Well, when you do, I expect to be invited over.
I want to wear it like cologne. It's pretty amazing stuff. If I can smell like bacon and blue cheese for the rest of the day, I think I'd be okay.
Nothing about that is bad.
Right?
Nothing about that is bad.
But either way.
So I want to introduce to us now a new tequila that we're going to be tasting on the show. And this caught my eye on the store shelf, number one, because it's a beautiful and attractive bottle of Reposado tequila.
We need to put a drum roll right here in post-production.
Yeah, post-production, this is where the drum roll would be inserted. If you're not hearing a drum roll, that's because we had too much of the tequila and didn't remember to go back and insert the drum roll into the show. But no, it's a really beautiful bottle. It's kind of a wedge shape. It has a really nice sort of that old school Victorian cross on the front. And it is the Reposado tequila that we'll be sampling today is Cruze tequila.
Oh, man.
How good does that get?
It's even spelled the same way.
So here's the thing. We will try this tequila, and now I've put it out there. If this tequila isn't very good, then I'm going to have some splaining to do.
And it also says Cruze del Sol. So you know
the sun, yes.
Yes, Cruze the sun.
All right, so Ian, you can pour that, and while you do that, and we'll get ready to take. Now, this is not an añejo. This is a reposado, so it's not aged as long as the añejo. But I was, I was talking to some people about tequila the other day, and a lot of people like the blanco and the reposado a little more. I'm kind of an añejo guy, I will say, but some people like the blanco and the reposado more because it's a more. You get more of the actual flavor of the agave without it being as influenced by the barrels that it's been aged in. So
yeah, and I'll take the barrel all day long. So I'm an añejo guy too, but Reposado does not. I won't kick it out of bed.
Does not usually disappoint. Yes, that's absolutely right. So we're pouring a little bit of this sweet nectar of the gods here, and we'll see how this goes. It's been a few weeks since we've had a tequila on the show, Ian. So I'm actually very interested to see how this goes. I will say
thank you for filling up the airspace while I was pouring.
You are so welcome.
It's hard to have my hand on a bottle of tequila and the glasses and a microphone all at the same time.
Although if there's anyone who can do it, my faith would be in you.
I'll just bring a mic stand next time. I can talk the whole time and do it, right?
You got to train an octopus to do some of this stuff for you. With all the tentacles, can really
just. For all of you out there who wonder what happens, in between our segments, that's where we put all our awkward silence. We try to keep that off the air.
Off the show as much as possible, yeah. People have accused me of being awkward, but I've never been accused of silence. So, that's just so you know. So first sort of on the nose, this does. You can definitely tell, or at least I can kind of get the impression that it is more of a reposado. It's a little more straightforward. You're not picking up some of those like vanilla notes. I mean, we may when we taste, but at least on the nose, I'm not picking up.
No, but it also has a very gentle
notes.
Tequila.
Yes.
Nose to it. It
does.
It's not harsh. It doesn't smell like it's going to be harsh at
Well,
all.
remember, lime and salt are only really used to mask the flavors of.
I call that training wheels. If you need training
tequila.
wheels,
Yes.
well, that's the level of tequila that you're drinking.
I'm about to say this does on the nose smell like a late 20s, early 30s tequila. Let me tell you that. Yeah, it's not an early 20s college town tequila for sure.
Right. It at the very least smells like that transitional tequila.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There is nothing wrong with this tequila.
All right. So you've taken your first
I've
sip.
taken
What do you
my
got?
first sip. It is actually a little one-dimensional. It's not real complex, but it's delicious.
That's a lot
at the same time.
That's a lot like me. I don't think I'm
Yes.
really all that complex, but I'm friendly and one-dimensional in a really nice way.
Like me, deep down inside, I'm really shallow, actually. So. Wait, did I say that or did I think that?
No, yeah, that came out loud.
You know what's great about this, though?
Definitely
it has,
audible.
as you were saying, it's not your like early 20s tequila. It does not have that burn down the back that makes you go, oh my God.
There is very little heat to this at all, actually.
Yeah, it really is very smooth.
More warmth than anything else. And I think what you said earlier about the nose also comes through on the palate, is that it's straightforward, for sure.
It's very, very straightforward. It also goes well with the cigar.
Yeah.
That I'm smoking.
Which you just ashed onto the floor accidentally, but that's okay.
Ashed onto the floor.
That's the great thing about being in the cigar lounge is that
I think my favorite part of the tequila is the name of it.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I appreciate that, and it is, I mean, they knew they were going to sell at least one bottle,
right?
At least one. That was going to happen.
They sold it specifically on the name.
Yeah, but no, I actually think it's quite good, and it comes across to me very different than a lot of the tequilas that I enjoy regularly because those añejos have got more of that barrel-aged flavor. This is a little more straightforward, but in a way that I really like.
This makes me feel like I would love to bring a bottle of this when I'm camping on kind of a chilly night because you take a sip and there's no heat to it at all, and then after the aftertaste and everything's gone, you get this little bit of heat that just creeps up and
bit of warmth,
warms you up like from the inside out. It's really, really nice.
Now, I don't want to rush this from the tequila, but I also don't want to get behind, and I want to have an opportunity to taste the Clown Shoes baked goods. So, Ian, maybe you can get that ready, and while you do, I just wanted to ask a few more cigar questions since we have like cigar guys here. I'll come back to you, Ken, with the number of different brands and then different lines that each brand has and then different iterations of those lines. You guys probably have, I don't know, several thousand choices when you walk in the humidor.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So you first as a customer and then as somebody that actually is part of the establishment, do you find yourself constantly changing up to try a bunch of new things, or do you find those handful of favorites and keep going back to them?
Oh, I'm always big on trying new things because you never know. I mean, price point doesn't really matter to a certain extent. Sometimes you'll find, $4 stick that just tastes great, and sometimes you might find an expensive stick that that doesn't even taste mind blowing. So it's always a good hunt, the thrill of the hunt. Finding something that you like, because for me, if I keep smoking the same thing over and over, it kind of plateaus for me. So I always like changing it up.
Sure,
and then coming back to
it,
it,
and then coming back to things. So, do you find that you smoke more now that you work here, or do you find you might even smoke less?
Actually, I think I smoke a little less because a lot of times I'm at work, and I'm always running back and forth, doing this, doing that. So it's not really coming here to sit and smoke like I used to. There is times when I do get to. There are days when I might knock out 6, 7 sticks in a day, depending if guys like AJ come in and start handing me cigars. But there's some days where I won't even get a stick in. But for an average, I get away with 2 or 3 in a day.
Mm-hmm. What about you, AJ? What do you find that because you do this for a living, does that impact how often you have a cigar?
The best part of my employment is that is the cigar related portion. I would smoke the same amount, probably just be a lot less lucrative for me on the income side. So it's kind of best of both worlds for me. I smoke about the same. I do find myself going back to, on my off time, some of the favorites like you were talking about. I have unfortunately noticed that in my off time lately, in the last 2 years, being in the industry, that I like to go back to things I know that I'm going to enjoy. But I will always try something new. I still do try new things as we have new things coming out. There's always something to familiarize yourself with, and also sizes too is something I've smoked around a bit more than I thought I would size-wise.
I always rely. It's real easy to walk into a cigar shop and buy a few sticks that you already know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I almost can't pass up an Ilyasyon MJ12 because I just particularly like that cigar. So I'll almost always buy one. But it's hard when you're looking at a humidor, especially the size of this one here, to just pick out a random cigar you haven't had. You guys have some nice end caps, though, that are like the...
Introduce kind of the new things.
Yeah, these are the new ones and those kind of things. But what I like to do in those situations, too, is just ask somebody who works there. This is a style. I like this cigar. I like that cigar. What do you recommend? And I've had some great recommendations from the cigar shop guys just because of that. And it makes me branch out a little bit, because otherwise I'll end up with the same, 5 or 7 sticks that I always have because I know they're going to be good. I know I'm going to enjoy them,
Well, of course. I'll always pick up a Roma Craft Tobacco Intemperance Natural, with the Brazilian wrapper, or, a Warped Futuro. I'll pick those up every day of the week, right? But as a consumer on that side. But you're right. It's nice to go in and go, hey, what's something that you like? Or,
Yes.
What's a size that you smoke in this that I maybe wouldn't pick up?
So we won't have time to do this on today's show, but I'm thinking you guys would be great guests for when we do this show. We've been talking about it a little bit off the air, and I think we're going to do it maybe before the end of the year, which is a Desert Island Discs and Cigars show. We'll abbreviate it a little. You'll get 5 Desert Island discs and 5 Desert Island boxes of cigars. And what are they? And won't that be a fun show?
Oh, like a blind taste kind of deal?
So, right. Well, no, I'm just saying, if you were going to be trapped on a desert island.
You were stuck on a desert.
And you got a CD player and 5 CDs, and you got 5 boxes of cigars for your entire time there. What are those going to be? Think about it. Don't answer, because that's going to be a whole show.
That'd be great. That'd be great. I'd love to be considered for that. Let me know, guys.
Right.
Yeah,
sounds good. All right, so when we come back, we're going to taste the Clown Shoes. This is the Baked Goods Hoppy Pale Ale, and I think we may do a little more beer tasting too, because we're running behind on the beer. So, plus, Ian and I will do price to quality on these cigars that we're enjoying from Ventura. So we'll be back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. Welcome back. It's Smokin' and Toastin'. It's show number 55. We are the program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant on Washington Ave in Houston, and soon to be open in Fort Worth. I've got to get the address of the Fort Worth place. I'm sure they know where it's going to be at this point. They're building it. So so I'll get that. We'll bring that to you in the next show or something. And we're live today, and it's been awesome being a guest here at the former Serious Cigars, now known as Casa de Montecristo. And in fairness, it's Casa de Montecristo
by Serious Cigars.
So that's the way that the Casa de Montecristo family is kind of keeping the names alive and the brand alive of the different shops that are bringing into the family, right?
Yeah.
That's very cool. I like that. Because Serious Cigars was a part of the Houston, cigar market landscape for a long time. It's great that doesn't just now get completely dismissed.
Well, it's smart too, because if you search for it, it's going to come up as Casa de Montecristo by Serious Cigars. So if you're used to calling it Serious Cigars, it's still Serious
You'll find
Cigars.
it in the search, of course.
It's just Casa de Montecristo by Serious Cigars.
These days of SEO, you got to keep those things consistent, right?
So Clown Shoes beer is brewed in Ipswich, Massachusetts. I lived in the greater Boston area for 7 years, became a fan of some of the microbrews there, although Clown Shoes didn't come along until after I had actually moved out of the area. But Ian and I have had a number of different Clown Shoes beers and always enjoyed them. Today, we are sampling the Baked Goods hoppy pale ale, and I'm pretty sure this is a new one. It's also the first Clown Shoes that I've seen in a can.
When I was
don't know
looking
if it's
for
the
it
first
in the
one,
cooler,
but-
I passed over it about 4 times trying to figure out which one was the Clown Shoes because it was in a can. I didn't think about it.
And we're almost used to Clown Shoes only being in the big bombers, although they do have some
Yeah, they have some
six-packs of
six-packs,
bottles,
right. So
now.
I
But
want
yeah.
to start off by baked goods. This smells like cake icing.
It's also
with hops.
Yes, I was going to say it's got that sort of hoppy, yeasty flavor.
Yes.
But there's a little sweetness in there, which is where you're getting, I think, the
And I
icing.
haven't tasted it yet, but it smells. It
Icing
literally
touch.
smells, to me, it smells like a white icing with hops.
I'm really curious to see what you're going to think of this, Ian. I will confess that I've actually already had one.
It's crispy and bitter in a very good way. It's not sweet like what you'd smell. You still kind of feel the sweetness from the nose of this, but you don't
Right.
get a big sweetness.
You don't
on
get a
the
big
flavor.
sweetness on your tongue, yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty well balanced overall. Mm-hmm. It's got a big aftertaste that goes away really quickly.
Which I think is why it doesn't bother me to have this one with a cigar. I've talked on the show a lot about how I love IPAs, but sometimes that IPA hop bitterness really messes with the cigar in a way that doesn't make it a pleasant pairing. This one really kind of fades. The bitter fades quickly, and that's good for going back to the cigar, I think.
It doesn't conflict with my cigar at all. It's interesting because there's a little insidiousness to this. Is that as soon as you finish that
You kinda
last
want another
sip,
one?
you really kind of want another sip of it. It leaves your mouth kind of watering for it.
AJ, you know what I'm talking about with the bitterness of a very hoppy
Of
beer,
course.
and then trying to marry that with a cigar. Not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, it's difficult. I used to work over at Mongoose versus Cobra for several years as the door guy. So all I did was try beers and smoke cigars at the front door while I checked your IDs. So I have a pretty good knowledge of that stuff, working knowledge, but especially with IPAs. I am a fan of IPAs. They are difficult. They're just so palate heavy, like you
Yes.
said, with their flavors. And the hops is definitely something that it's hard to navigate. But generally, a stronger cigar can stand up. Maduro can help on that side, but it just depends. It's hit or miss depending on the brewery.
I will also say that AJ mentioned during one of the breaks that he's a fan of good old Lone Pint Yellow Rose. That is like the greatest beer ever.
He's admitted to us that he doesn't drink much beer at all.
Yeah.
Anymore.
And,
yes,
that's the caveat.
But
Anymore.
I did
yes.
see him
But-
go
but
back
he
for
said-
a little more tequila.
He said, "But when I do."
But when I do, yes.
Well, Ian, what's your final verdict on the Clown Shoes baked goods?
It's nice. It's a little hoppier than my taste generally want to drink a bunch of. It does really make you want another sip of it, though.
Yes, it really does.
So, it's a nice beer. I like it.
Very nice.
I assume that this is something you really
This is
enjoy.
right down my alley. Yes, yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, it doesn't stop me from drinking it. That's
yeah.
for sure.
Well, that's good.
And you think the Axis Mundi stands up pretty well for you?
I think it does. Again,
From a pairing,
I give it a moment.
Right.
I don't go directly to the
Yeah, you
cigar.
can't. You can't.
I give it a moment to let that bitterness fade a little bit, and then I can go back to the Axis Mundi, and it holds up pretty nice. AJ is the archetype cigar that I'm smoking.
Yes, sir.
Today, what does this sell for? What will we pay for this here, Ken, at Casa de Montecristo?
Vary on size, but usually it's about ranges from 8 to 11.
8 to 11. Wow. Well, that's
Yeah,
pretty
really
good.
great price point.
And Ian, your cigar again is the
I'm having the Strange Passage.
Strange Passage.
So
And
similar
is that
price
similar?
points. Yeah, similar price points all throughout. Probably top end is going to be 12, depending on what size you're at. But like Ken was saying, that 8 to 12 range.
Let's take this. Let's average it to a $10 cigar. I'm
Okay.
going to go ahead
That's
and
good
say
average.
price to quality on mine is probably at a 6.
Yes.
This is a really good cigar. The burn is impeccable. The ash falls on my shoes, however. That is a little annoying. That's probably my fault.
Only because those are such
the
rad
burn's impeccable.
shoes.
I love the box press on mine. Feels great. It's been a
Little soft box press.
great full bodied but very creamy, not real peppery cigar. I kind of like it a lot. I don't think it may have had some impressions with that hoppy beer that I had, but it went really well with everything else that I've had so far too. So I'd give it a solid 6. Now, you probably don't know how our price to quality works, but this is a scale 1 to 10.
Of course.
If you're at 5, you get exactly what you pay for.
Okay, so right in
So-
the middle. Okay.
I like this cigar. I think you're getting a little above that $10 mark as far as your quality and how good it tastes.
Right.
This is worth a little more than what you're paying for.
right.
Is where I put it.
And I would put, so if we're averaging to a a $10 cigar, I would say at $10, I would say the Axis Mundi would at least be a 6.5. I'm really enjoying this
I had
cigar.
one of those, I think, a couple weeks on the show, and I think I rated it at 7.
This is just
Awesome.
it's just fantastic. And I will also
Great
say,
to hear, guys.
in doing the show, and with as much as I have a tendency to talk, this cigar has gone out once, and I relit it with absolute zero relight penalty, which was nice.
Now, really quickly before we get too far gone in this segment, I brought you a surprise. I brought you the Stone IPA, but this is the Stone Mocha IPA. This is a style-defying double India Pale Ale with cacao and coffee.
Well, wait till you see what I bring you next week. But okay,
You guys are
I'm
trying
down.
to get me to go back to beer. Coffee and chocolate notes. I'm going to be right down the whole train
show
again.
is all about. So we are going to do one more beer tasting, and that is, say it again, Ian. It's the Stone
Mocha IPA.
Mocha IPA,
And it is brilliant. I just had a sip. It is so good.
it is like
It is so balanced.
this may seem like a ridiculous thing to say, but when you smell it, it's sort of like a cold coffee beer.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. Actually, and when you taste it, it hits your mouth immediately like a porter and then finishes like an IPA. It's unbelievable.
Wow. That is
It's
terrific.
I don't even know how they did it.
Wow. The whole idea
It
of a
just
mocha IPA I will
changes
tell you,
right in your mouth.
seems a little gimmicky to me, and then you taste the beer.
Well, Stone, I mean, have
These
they
guys-
done any bad beers?
And
No,
it's-
they haven't.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting to me that you like Stone as much as you do, Ian, because they're a very, very IPA-centric company.
But they're a company that does IPAs right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when they do a big, strong IPA, it's not just tossing hops in there. They make a very balanced IPA, and I love the company for that.
Ken,
I love
tell-
you guys.
Tell us a little bit in our closing moments here. Tell us a little bit more about the shop. You guys have cigar lockers, obviously, for your members that are members in the
Members
special-
lounge?
Members lounge. Thank you. How many lockers do you have here, and do you still
We
have
have
any available?
150 lockers. We also have corporate account lockers, which are a little bigger for multi persons. So we have a lot of corporate accounts here with the corporate guys. We also have the public lounge inside in the back, towards the back, across the way from the members lounge, which has about 14, 15 seats, TV, Wi-Fi access, and we also have some chairs for our outside lounge up front. If someone wants to get sunlight, it's a little
Right.
more quieter too. Back there in the back, sometimes we have the game on and everyone gets rowdy. And
It's a
everyone
nice
starts-
touch. Yeah, the
it's a
lobby
nice
chairs
touch.
are nice.
Yeah, so now we kind of split it up so we get more places to sit. I know sometimes when you go to some lounges, they might have 4 seats total.
Yeah,
And
this strikes me as very spacious, and obviously we may not be here at the busiest peak time of the day, but it seems like there'd be plenty of room, even if it was 6 p.m.
oh yeah, definitely.
Silly detail as well. Even in their public lounge, they have easily accessible power supplies.
Which that's such a huge deal.
Yeah, I can attest to
Yeah.
that. It's definitely a great place to work. Obviously, I'm in the cigar industry, so I'm in shops all day long, every day, 7 days a week. But it is a great place to work, and from a, like you said, 5-6 happy hour, 5-6 o'clock happy hour standpoint, there's still plenty of room.
We want to really thank you for allowing us to be your guest here today in the Cigar Lounge at Casa de Montecristo. We're at 610 and on the South Loop between Richmond and Westheimer on the east side of 610. AJ, before we go, anything you want to tease that might be coming out soon from the Ventura cigar line?
Well, something that I am working on sales-wise, just trying to get out there a little bit more, which is actually what I'm smoking today, is the Chairman. It's something we came out with in conjunction with Rocky Patel, made at Placencia for us. Rocky himself, identified the individual tobaccos that went into the blend. Him and our chairman, Hugh Kassar, who's the owner of Phillips & King, the massive distribution company that everybody knows, more internal side, right, than on the consumer end. That cigar is out right now, and so we displayed that at the show back in July, and that's what I'm smoking. Ken was also smoking that, even
It's
though
a great smoke.
Yes.
Full bodied, delicious.
Love it. Can't
So
wait to try
that
it.
would be something that I would point out. It has a Mexican San Andreas wrapper, Brazilian Matafina in the binder, and a Nicaraguan blend in the filler. And it comes in a Robusto, Toro, and Torpedo, something I would look for in a black box.
Well, we'll be looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to just now that we're wrapping up the show, spending a little time in the humidor. I love it here. It has been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.
allowing us to do our hurricane party at Casa de Montecristo
anytime
in Houston. And we don't have to have a hurricane, right? We can just come in and
you don't have to have a hurricane and party over here. You can party here anytime.
Ian, it's been wonderful to see you. Glad you made it through the storm. Okay.
Same with you.
And we will be back with you once again next week for episode number 56. You're listening to Smokin' and Toastin'. We're brought to you by B&B Butchers and Restaurant on Washington Ave in Houston, and we'll be back with you again next week. Have a great week, everybody, and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for having us.
Interrupting all programs.